I look at the disparity and I go, okay, majority of people believe that they were created for a purpose, whether they believe God is real and all that good stuff. They just believe that they were created for a purpose, but only about 31 of 3 people are actually living in it. There's a problem. there's,
Yeah,
there's,
right.
which is why I think it leads to so many people who are depressed, so many people who live in anxiety, so many people are dreading life, and they're going back to the statistics of them changing careers. I think people are looking for something, and
Yeah.
they don't realize that what they're looking for is in themselves.
I'm curious because you had a podcast that you were running for a while, and how did that go? And what did you love about it, hate about it, all that
Yeah,
kind of
man.
stuff?
Oh man, that's such a good question. So I think it was one of those things where obviously 2020, 2021, COVID, everybody was home, and it was kind of the fad of this explosion of podcasts. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, content creation. It's been around, but that's when I think a lot of people, they're like, I think they're onto something.
That's true.
Um,
Yeah.
Truth be told, 2019 is when I already had an idea and vision to launch a podcast, and really, I call it the 3 C's: build my business around content, coaching, and consulting, and just really that be the wheel, kind of what we spoke about before. Like, that would be the wheel of, hey, this is how I could add value to either clients or potential clients in one of those realms. So, but the podcast was great. I still check every now and again. People are still listening, which is crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll check and it'll go, hey, you had 50 views in the last month. And I'm like, I haven't posted anything in 2 years, maybe a year and a half. But so I did audio for about a year and a half, and then I did video. Still have my YouTube up, so it's
Yeah.
been good, man.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. So how did you get into? Because I know that when we first met a few years ago, right through the arena and Irwin and all that, and you had the Compel movement, and is that still kind of your main thing? Like, what are you doing? Where did that come from? All that fun stuff.
No, great question, man. Great question. And I guess we can pick up from there. I get, depending on how the conversation
Yeah,
goes.
that sounds good.
That's good. That's a good starting point. I heard this phrase and it stuck with me. Pun intended. When I say the phrase, you'll get it. It stuck with me. Be like a postage stamp. Don't stop until you reach your destination. And I was like, I'm gonna get that. And I feel like so many people, it's the squirrel mentality. Hey, content. Oh, okay, I'm gonna do a YouTube. Oh, squirrel. Okay, I'm gonna create e-courses. Oh, squirrel. I'm gonna be a motivational speaker. It's going back to your question. Compelled movement was birthed on the idea of, man, God personally, for me, it always boils down to like a spiritual, deeper purpose, fulfilling meaning. God purposely gave me a purpose on helping people in their human experience, helping people identify that they have a purpose. And that's one of the key elements in why they feel lackluster in life sometimes. Now, that's my personal life statement, so to speak, mission statement, helping people live a compelling life in every area, spiritually, financially, relationally, professionally, all that. That's my mission statement. How I do that, that's multifaceted. That's multi
Sure.
So it may be in the realm of speaking. It may be in the professional setting, doing workshops and conferences, things like that. It may be in the context of churches. It may be in the context of podcasts, books. I think when you have a purpose and when you have a mission statement, it makes what you do a little bit more clear because there's a why behind it. And I think so many people just, squirrel. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do
Right.
that. And there's no purpose behind it. They're chasing money or they're chasing fads and they're chasing everything else. And then when you do that, it's not sustaining.
Yeah. So what's like the main purpose, the main driver? Because like you said, you're a multifaceted dude. You're you're doing all sorts of stuff, and sometimes I see you I'm like, oh, awesome! You're speaking at this conference, and I know you're doing stuff, with some corporate teams and different things. So like, what is how do you put that into very short layman's terms for me?
Yeah, for sure. So one thing I did was same thing. I narrowed it down. It starts off broad, and the more you go down the path, the picture becomes a little bit clear. So I had a target. I said, hey, I want to help a million people live a compelling life. Okay, great.
Ooh,
That's great.
yeah, nice. Okay.
What does that look like? Okay, what does a compelling look like? What does compelling life look like? If it's not clearly defined, you don't know if you'll reach it. And I said, okay, well, I want to help a million people live a compelling life by changing their human experience, how they go about life. So now, actually, even as I think about 2026 and just some of the things that God's put on my heart, it's like, man, so many people, when we look at the statistics of those who suffer from depressions, those who suffer from anxiety, those who change careers at their point, a certain point in life, they say that I read something the other day, the 35 to 42 range. They said this 35 and 42 generation or cycle has transition careers more than ever. Like people who've been in a position or been in a job or been in a career or went to school for some degree, they're doing something completely different, and I always ask why. So going back to your question, it's like, okay, the goal is, hey, I want to help a million people live a compelling life. How, like, what does that look like practically? I want to help their human experience. I want to help them how they experience life spiritually. I want to help people how they experience life professionally. I want to help people how they experience life relationally. Um, and once again, it's different for different people. Everybody has different parameters, but if I can effectively add value to help their human experience better, man, that'll be a win.
Mm, nice, nice. And of all the things that you've done, like, what is the thing that you're most excited about? Or I guess maybe that you've done in the past that you were excited about, like we were talking on the podcast, but what
Yeah.
about now? What about things in the future that you're seeing?
Oh man, that's a good question. What am I most excited about?
Yeah.
I would say, and we actually we shared this, or yeah, I shared this with you when we met just a couple of weeks ago. We met up in person. I'm at a stage in my life, so it's funny. I'm seeing. First of all, they're tracking us. I don't know how they're doing it, y'all, but they're tracking. Okay,
For
they
sure
are
they're tracking it.
they are tracking us. So all of a sudden, it's 2025 on the verge of 2026. I'm getting inundated with the gifs and memes and all these different uh post about turning 40. I don't know what it is, but I'm getting all of them on my feed. Yeah, I turned 20, I turned 40 in 2026, and I shared it with you. I said, man, a pet peeve of mine is always being late or running late or just feeling behind, or man, if I don't mind the process taking, I don't mind it taking 6 months or waiting 6 months if I know the process is 6 months. But if I know the process is 6 months and it's 7 months and we're still not where we need to be, I get so frustrated and have anxiety and all these different things. And it was like God spoke to me as clear as day. The reason why I feel like that is because I felt behind on my life. I've always felt I should be further along than I actually am. I always feel like, man, I'm 30, I should be here in life. Man, I'm 35, I should be here in life. Man, I'm approaching 40. 40 and 401k don't look alike at all, even if that's not a thing anymore. People in these companies, boy. But anyways, it's not aligning, and I'm really stepping into a season of becoming. That's one of the words that is really struck a chord with me as I roll into 2026. Who am I? Who have I become, and who am I becoming? Who have I become and who am I becoming? So I'm really looking forward into stepping into this, into 40, stepping into, I know some people dread it, but I'm really like, no, God has been working on me. He's going to work all things out for the good. And there's some things that I have not attained yet. But I know it's coming, and I'm just becoming the individual who can sustain and do those things. So that's what I'm really most excited about.
Oh, that's good, man. That's good. Yeah, I hear you there, weirdly enough, because I always felt like I was kind of an old soul. But I also had enough, I don't know, wisdom, hubris. It's kind of like the older I get, the less dogmatic I become, about things. And I also realized that it's kind of like the gray hair factor that I wish I had. And I told people that, like, 10 years ago. I'm like, man, I'm excited for when I'm 40 or 50, when you're 10, right? And you're like 40, man, that's old. I'm going to be
And
40 this year as well. So
yeah,
we're going to be in the same club. But it's kind of the same thing. Like, there's so much wisdom that needs to be gained, and that only comes with time, right? There's only things that happen, which is why, like, John Maxwell, he wrote a book, and he waited. I think the original title of the book was Leadership Gold, and he didn't write it until he was 60, because he knew that, hey, I'm not going to know stuff until I'm 60. That
thanks.
which is kind of the same way. Like if I look at the next 20 years out from for both of us, it's like, man, we're gonna be smart dudes when we're 60. And the stuff that we're so sure of right now is not gonna be that, you know.
Exact and the world changes. Things are changing.
Oh yeah.
So we could read all the books about being a parent. We could read all the books about how
Hmm.
to a leader leading an organization of 100 people. you it's one thing to have knowledge, and I feel like we're living in it. We've been in a time, that's a whole other story. I think it's something innate in us as humans to have knowledge and seek knowledge, but it's a difference between having knowledge and like understand, like, oh, I understand why my parents treated me like this or disciplined me this way when I was a child, now that I have a child. So we it's that idea of, man, becoming 40 offers so much wisdom, but kind of, I love what you said. We're still life learners. So even though we have attained so much at 40, we know that we're so much more we haven't yet attained and striving for. So yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, no, I am too. It's gonna be a fun decade. I was talking to a friend and he was talking about that kind of the same thing, like looking at life in periods of decades and just thinking like, okay, what is this decade going to be about? Because I love looking at like yearly planning. I was doing that, forecasting and stuff myself for the next couple of years. But it was also, okay, what is this decade about? I'm not done, right? I still got little kids, you too, you got kids, right? So we're dads, we're husbands, we're fathers, like we're making things happen. We're moving and figuring stuff out kind of as we go along. When you go and you go speak, like what is the thing that people are asking you to come speak on?
Ooh, that's a good question. So one, I don't want to say it's convoluted because that means I don't have a specific avatar. Though here's what I would say: when people find me, or if people go, man, I came across your content, can you come and speak? I think it is multifaceted in the sense of they know I can solve a specific problem. Oftentimes it's a human problem. It's a
Right,
human.
right.
So at the core, so working with organizations, it's like, man, one thing I've identified is either they have a mission statement or they have a vision statement, or, leadership or executive team, they have a goal, but getting everyone else in line with that goal is where they
That's
struggle.
good.
That's a
Yeah.
human problem. That's not
Yeah.
necessarily a goal problem. That's not necessarily a financial problem. It's a people problem. But then on the flip side, you'll have organizations that, man, culture is great. People come in with their lattes and are like, man, I have such a good time. The morale is high. And I'm like, awesome, awesome. So where are we going to be at in 5 years?
Right.
I don't know. Or I just still employed. We're still gonna be here.
Yeah.
So it's they don't have a vision. They don't have a clear vision, I should say. Their vision statement is a little too vague. Bringing clarity, how can we clearly define what either the vision statement or mission statement or goals are? Or if you have a clear mission and vision statement, how can we create a compelling culture to get the team behind it? And
Yeah.
that's generally one of those two things. So now how I deliver that after a few different conversations, that's where I meant by it's multifaceted.
That
Sometimes
makes sense.
if the goal is clear, but the people need to get behind it. Okay, well, maybe you have the wrong people in the wrong positions. They're sitting at the wrong seat on the bus. Let's just shift some things around. Some personality assessments and leadership assessments can help deal with that. But on the flip side, if it's, hey, man, we have a great culture, but I feel like we had some leadership changes. One thing I've noticed, and I'll go back to your question. One thing I noticed is we're living in a time now where over the last 2 to 3 years, and I'm thinking even maybe the next 2 to 3 years, there has been a lot of executive leadership changes. Whether CEOs are stepping down, executive directors are stepping down, pastors are passing the baton onto somebody else, and now you have this new leader with an old vision with a company that's moving in a different direction. So there's a
Right.
lot of different components that come with it, but at the end of the day, it's one of those two things
Mm.
that I
Yeah,
know.
yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it was interesting because when you were talking earlier about kind of I heard somebody talk about the fact that we're kind of at the end of the information age and we're moving into kind of a different age. Yes, with artificial intelligence and things like that, but it's not like um, I believe we're moving into more of an experiential age where it's going away from intelligence, or people were marking intelligence as it's like whatever. Like there's no way you or I are as smart as Chat GPT.
Yeah.
Right? So
AI
so
sees
that
you.
yeah. But the thing that we can do, and we talked about this, which is kind of the same way. Um, like when people say, when you casually mentioned that, oh yeah, we happen to hang out together. It's like, yeah, in Florida, and I live in Oregon, so it's not like it's not like we just drove to a coffee shop and hung out. It was really fun, but it was something that I was like, man, I really want to make that happen. Like because I believe that experience and that sitting across the table from somebody, giving them a hug, like that in my mind is way more powerful. Zoom has its place, but it's a way more powerful thing than ever. And I think that the more we embrace that, the more we lean into that, I think that is going to be the currency moving forward.
100%,
Yeah,
100%.
because kind of the same way you were talking too about like content and things like that. It's like, yeah, I mean, you could be a chatbot for all I know, except for I hugged you and I had we had breakfast together last
Yeah.
week or whenever. You know what I mean? So to walk me through that because you're right. I think that when you're going into these organizations, it's different than you just being like this online coach guru. So I guess maybe the question I have is when you talked about coaching, consulting, how do you do those things in those different capacities, and what does that look like for you?
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. Great question. So, um, I feel like simplicity is everything. First and foremost, every coach needs a coach. That's number one. And I feel like coaching is critical, whether you're an athlete, whether you're in the education space, whether you're in the professional space. Every coach needs a coach, or everybody needs a coach, and then every coach needs a coach. So through
Sure.
coaching, through me paying and to be added on different masterminds and really investing in myself for 5 6 years even prior to launching, and sitting at the feet of other individuals as a junior consultant in their consulting firm. You want to leave it simple for your clients. You want to leave it simple for your clients, as well as you want to make it something that they can remember. So the 3 C's, it's easy to remember. Hey, what do you do? I offer content that could be in the form of podcasts, that could be in the form of books. I'm actually wrapping up a book right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's another story for another day.
Let's go.
Anyways, through podcasts, through books, through courses, so on and so forth. Coaching. What does coaching look like? Okay, you may have a goal, but every day looks different. You may have to make shifts and pivots. Coaches point out blind spots. So if it's a professional coach, you may be a great leader 8 out of 10, but these other two things that you just don't know, it's holding you back from really
Mhm.
thriving. And that's what coaches pull out. So coaching is that's more of a personal relationship type aspect. It's like, hey, we're meeting once a week for a check-in, maybe once a month, and it's just a check-in, just a checkup. And then through consulting, so content is information, coaching is application, and then consulting is implementation. It's like, okay, let's practically do. So if it's a business, to say, okay, hey, you told me all this information about your business. You told me this is your goals. Okay, great. I can coach you to get there and you can do it on your own, or I can get under the hood. I can get under the hood and really see what's going on and get my hands dirty, so to speak, and really help you guys build that out. So that's how I do that. And I think when you break it down that way, it makes it easy for clients to go, oh, okay, I want to start at this level, or hey, I really want to start at this level, and then you can meet them where they're at.
Yeah. Dude, that's really good. I like that. I like that a lot. What's the things so I mean, maybe I should press into the book thing because as we're talking about moving into 2026, what things are on the horizon for you? But it sounds like obviously the book is one,
Yeah,
um, and how much you're willing to share about,
yeah,
moving what
yeah,
you're
for
feeling God's
sure.
telling you to do and all that. But
For sure. So it's actually, it was inspired through, once again, a coach, as well as through other create. It's a lot of C's, other creators, unintended, I promise,
there's a lot of
but
C's.
just other individuals. I feel like another C, community. Community is critical and it's important to help you get to that next level. So being a part of other communities and just other entrepreneurs and seeing what worked well for them. Well, okay, that was loud. I don't know if you heard that on my end. It was something loud. Um, but repurposing content, as you shared, in we're we're in information overload. Like there's so much information at our fingertips, and I feel so many people think they have to recreate the wheel. But if you feel like you have a life changing message in the context of a book or in the context of a course, maybe you repurpose that into a different platform, different format. So I
Nice.
had a e-course. I still have an e-course. I'll share it with you, drop the link, so on and so forth. But I produced an e-course around development, how to live a compelling life. I personally believe at the core of it is having clear identity on what your purpose is, whether what your purpose is as an organization or what your purpose is individually. Clearly understanding that changes the game for your life. Because now I call it like, hey, if you're a screwdriver, man, wouldn't it be a waste of time, wasting your screwdriver life thinking you are a hammer? And you're walking around, you're doing hammer things and you're not utilizing the fullness of you being a screwdriver.
Yeah.
If something comes alive and you realize, oh wow, I'm a screwdriver. Hey, I'm not even a flathead screwdriver. I'm the Phillips screwdriver. Man, I could do this unique thing that nobody else could do or very few could do. It unlocks so much different doors. So,
Mm,
anyways,
nice.
still have that e-course, but I'm repurposing that into a book and pulling out nuggets and pulling
Oh,
out
yeah.
so much information. So that'll be actually, that's going to be a free book that I give away. It's going to
Nice.
be given to organizations, given to schools. So that's one thing that I'm working on. And then I have another, book that I actually did, a little while back. I was just kind of, well, just wasn't the right time. So summer for my 40th birthday, that's the release plan to
Yeah.
an official book, man.
That's awesome. And what's that book called? And what's that?
That's one's How to Live a Compelling Life. I mean, that's a working
Okay,
title,
okay.
but it's
Yeah.
shaped around living a compelling life once again. And I break down the process of becoming and having a vision for your life and how that'll change the game. So one book is designed solely to help you discover your purpose. And then the other book is really, hey, once you discover your purpose, how to live a compelling life and literally live a life that you couldn't even imagine.
Man, that's so good. What I'm just curious now because I spoke a couple times this year and I had kind of an, you do informal polls of, audiences. Um,
Yeah.
how many people would you say live like of the people that you're talking to, either like have like got it locked down, like, okay, I know what my purpose is and I live a compelling life. Like where do you
Yeah.
think what percentage do you think is that?
I did a couple. I obviously with going through the book, there was a lot of statistics that I pulled from it.
Oh, nice.
A couple that stood out the most. One, they say around 33%, 30% of people um are quote unquote living in their purpose. That's what
Okay.
they feel. They took a survey and they say, hey, do you
Yeah.
feel are you living in your purpose? When they say living in your purpose, some of the criteria that they measured was are the work that they do aligns with their unique gifts and skills and talents.
Okay, okay.
That's one metric that they use. Another metric that they use, do they wake up excited to go to work on a regular basis? Granted, there's some days that you may not
Sure.
feel well, so on and so
Yeah.
forth. You don't want to travel, but overall, you're like, man, I can't imagine doing anything else.
Yeah.
Only about 30% of the people. Here's the caveat to that. They say about 77% of people, though, a different statistic, a different survey, about 76 or 77% of people believe that they've been created for a purpose. They believe that purpose is real, so on and so forth. So I look at the disparity and I go, okay,
Mm,
majority of people believe that they were created for a purpose, whether they believe God is real and all that good stuff. Whoever, they just believe that they were created for a purpose. But only about 30, 31 of 3 people are actually living in it. Um, there's a problem.
yeah.
There's
Right.
which is why I think it leads to so many people who are depressed, so many people who live in anxiety, so many people are dreading life, and they're going back to the statistics of them changing careers. I think people are looking for something, and they don't realize that what they're looking for is in themselves.
Man, I mean, not to give the whole like e-course away, and your
Yeah, yeah,
magic, but what is that process? Like, how do you help people like unlock that for themselves?
yeah. No, that's a good question. So, I think a lot of times we complicate the process. A lot of times we complicate things. It's like, man, what do you do well that other people struggle with? Like it's a gift. It's a gift.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, even in the context of gifts and purpose. I did some research and one translation, actually calling, a translation to calling, is vocation, vocar, to call. Vocar is Italian saying to call. And oftentimes we use these words of purpose and calling and, oh, God has called me to do this and God has called me to do that. A lot of times a calling is just an opportunity, an opportunity. Hey, Jason called me to do this, put this podcast. Hopefully it can add value into other individuals' lives. this organization called me to provide value in this area, in this specific region, whatever it may be. Calling is an opportunity. Purpose, though, I believe, is something uniquely designed to help you deliver on that specific call.
Mm,
So, even that analogy of the screwdriver, I think so many people are looking at, man, what can I do? What can okay, I don't have opportunities to screw this in, but you know what? I see this opportunity to knock this in, so I'm going to go around life like a hammer, and I'm gonna get paid to do this hammer life, when they know in their heart they're a screwdriver. So I think, going back to your question, I think it starts off with taking time to know yourself, going back through your life journey. What have people said that you're good at? And a large part of it, I think people have gone through, they've taken millions of assessments. I also break down, what does that look like practically for you? So I know individuals that are teachers, and they said, man, I feel like I love to teach. And I remember taking assessments, graduating high school, in early college ages. And they said, man, I have a gift to teach. And all the educators were like, man, the guidance counselors, you should be a teacher. I looked up what teachers made. God bless them. And I was like, nope, that's not, nope, that's not gonna happen. Uh, but I think, once again, exposure is huge in the context of, okay, if you have the gift to teach, if you love helping the light bulb come on for certain people, you can do that in different realms, or in different capacities, or in different areas. So I love working with teachers where, yeah, they may teach in a middle school, high school, but at the same time, I help them unlock other opportunities for their
mm.
gift to make room for them. So yeah. So going back to it, it's understanding who you are, listening to what people have told you. You've shined in areas you felt like, man, this comes natural to me. I don't have a fear for this that other people may have. And then I break down, what does that look like practically? And then I tie scripture around it. And yeah, it's a pretty cool process.
No, that's awesome, man. That's really, really cool. Yeah, I was thinking about when you said that, because I've done the same thing with kind of informal polls when I'm speaking, right? And I ask people, one of them is how many of you have written goals, and then some is how many of you would say that you're actually like living your life purpose, right? Like your life stance is a reflection of who you are, and you're actually walking in it. And yeah, I mean, 33% would be awesome. I've never seen 33%. I've seen like maybe 10.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and I think part of it maybe is even a rephrasing of the. I find this happens to me almost every week, at least once a week, where I'm doing something, I'm working with a client, doing something, I'm traveling, I'm on an airplane somewhere, and I just have this feeling of like, I just kind of smile. I'm like, wow, I get paid to do this. Like, this is fun. Like,
yeah.
this would drive some people nuts, though. Like
Literally,
my
literally.
my cousin Charlie, we joke all the time because um, when we were on an executive team together, and he hates meetings, like just hates them. But he's this all American badass, like 101st Airborne, like very well decorated, like 20-year military. Um, so he just doesn't. He's like a no nonsense guy. He's like, you can literally do this all day. I'm like, every day, all day. I can get in these meetings, and we can like break down people and why the team is this way and all that, all the fun stuff, right? But it
That's
just drives him
game.
nuts, right? And so it's my purpose is not their purpose. And I had this realization with my wife not too long ago. We were walking. I said, man, it used to be when I was younger. There's a lot of times I'd see people or like visions of what I thought I wanted. And then I was like, man, I'd love to trade places with them. And maybe it's because I'm 40. Maybe I'm more cynical now. I don't know. But at the same time, it's like, man, there's nobody I would want to necessarily trade my life with, like because I've been so intentional of designing my life the way that it is, and my life wouldn't be perfect for most people. I know that. You know what I mean, though. But
No,
yeah,
I know
it's
100%.
exciting.
I love what you said, designing your life. So that's another element of
Yeah,
the course of the process. I don't like using the word of course, because I feel like it got so saturated and watered down.
sure.
I like to
Yeah,
call it process now. That's one part of the process, designing what your life looks like. So many people live their life by default, where, man, I
mm,
graduated, I'm going to find the first job that I can find. I'm going to marry the first one that, that says yes on the date. I'm going to
right.
do this, I'm going to do that. And it's not by design. Living a life by design, it's so much more rewarding. It is challenging like anything else. Uh,
Yeah,
it's less brown, front on the hard on the front end makes it easier on the back end, versus easier on the front end makes it hard on the back end. So it's still going to be hard. Being able to look back and go, man, okay, this was so much worth it.
Man,
That's what I live for, man.
I love that. Yeah, by design, not default. I like that a lot. Yeah,
Yeah, man. Critical.
that's good. I'll steal it at some point and be like, "Hey,
Oh,
this
I stole it from
really
somebody. Don't worry about it.
really
It's all
smart guy named Jason, he
it's all a circle. Trust me.
yeah. Well, that's awesome. How did this is just a random question that just came to my brain. How how did you find Irwin? Like what is your Irwin story? Because we met through the arena and Irwin
Yeah.
McManus. So how did you
Legend,
find him? Yeah.
legend in the game. Oh man. So as I've mentioned time and time again, I, God is my relationship with God is critical. Is It's important in my life. So I bring it up even in a professional space. I bring it up in a way where it's not brought up, but people, it's funny. I'll deliver a talk. I never use the words. I never say the name Jesus. I never use the word God. I'll listen back. I'm like, did I say something? But then I'll have people come up to me and go, oh man, I felt the presence. Oh man, oh man, I felt whatever. And I'm like, oh okay, cool. But anyways, but yeah, my relationship with God is definitely impactful in my life. So I was a youth pastor. I served in ministry. I was an associate pastor, campus pastor, all that good stuff. For some
Hold on, hold on. So if you didn't like what teachers make, you became a pastor. So
This is why I tell people don't when they say tell God your plans and he'll laugh type of thing. Yeah. I was like, I was going to be a lawyer. My wife was going to be a
okay.
nurse, like nurse or a practitioner or something along those lines. And we had our plan. And then God was like, oh, really? Tell me. We were going to have X amount of kids. We were going to live in LA. We had it all mapped out. And
Okay, yeah, yeah.
he was like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
Let me know how that goes. But yeah, no, Colin. So I attended a conference, SCU conference in Lakeland, Florida, and Pastor Erwin McManus preached a shop, and it was revolutionary, just in his
Mm,
things, not
yeah.
so much his biblical commentary, but his practical delivery on the human experience. And I said that time and time again. For me, I wrestled with church a lot because I felt, going back to the human experience, I felt people would preach about a great God. I feel, they would say going to church would solve everything. Having a relationship with God would solve everything. But then when I
Mhm.
looked at their lives didn't align with what they were saying.
Yeah,
They were still
right.
behind on their mortgage or behind on their rent. They were still living paycheck to paycheck. They were still struggling, not even financially. Their relationship, divorce rates in the church are the same as divorce rates in anywhere else. And I was always drawn to people that where they looked at the whole human experience. So, yeah, I was always drawn to Irwin. Definitely loved his messages, and Mosaic as a church in general was great. So when they opened up the arena, about same thing, just hey, we want to connect with people, whether in the professional space, just any leadership space,
Yeah.
marketplace or ministry. I definitely jumped all over that.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So when was that? When was that first time you heard?
Oh man, that was 2023. I want to say.
Oh, no kidding.
I want to say, yeah, 20. Or when
When you
was the
first
conference?
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, when you first heard him speak, yeah.
Oh man, I don't even. Let me think. I was 20. Had to be 2017, maybe
Okay, yeah,
2016, 2017. So I've been
yeah,
following him for about 8 years or so. But
yeah,
when the arena opened up, that's when I
right.
really was like, you know what? Let me jump on and see what this is about. And just once again, that bridge of the marketplace, listening with hundreds of business professionals and understanding that, hey, going back to the people problem, the same quote unquote problems church leaders are having are the same problems that business leaders are having, the same problem that church organizations or nonprofit organizations that want to grow. More than likely, it's the same challenges that small businesses and medium sized businesses that want to grow. It's the same challenges that we're all struggling with. It's just people are being people.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's interesting too, because I so super resonated with what you just were saying, because I grew up in the church. My dad was a pastor. I was a youth pastor as well for 6 years or something like that, and it's an interesting thought because there's a lot of times, especially in ministry, there's almost this need for a facade, right? Because need seems a little harsh because
No, I
it
know what you mean.
brings up
Yeah.
hypocrisy, but it's also the okay, you're supposed to be a spiritual authority, which I think is an organizational problem and a leadership problem that is not necessarily in the business world, right? There's plenty of business leaders, no morals or ethics, and it doesn't matter. It's
Yeah.
business, baby. Like business is war. Let's
Yeah.
make
Yeah.
this happen. So I don't necessarily agree with that philosophy, but it's very prevalent in the business space, and people don't necessarily like think about it in the same sense. But if a pastor falls morally or whatever, that's a big deal because I think we like intrinsically know that there is a higher power, there is a higher calling, there is a higher authority greater than us, and when we don't align with what that higher authority is telling us, we know that that is a problem. Even people that are atheist and
Yeah,
agnostic and whomever, like they still hold those people in a higher regard, which is why the Catholic Church, for example, gets a lot more shade than other organizations that have similar or worse problems, like the Boy Scouts. You know what I mean? Like, it's just an interesting, yeah, it's really an interesting thing. But at the same time, yeah, I'm with you. Like, I love Erwin able to tie that to no, it's a human problem. Like this
yeah.
is
And
not.
here's the dichotomy with that. So as you're
Yeah, yeah.
talking, I'm analyzing it even more. I mean, that's something that I personally feel, man, called to, and I love these type of conversations. But yeah, here's the caveat. In the marketplace, people would follow a leader that may not be all the way morally there, or let me just say, they may not have fully agree morally, but they see the I can't talk extrinsic values. They can see
Oh yeah.
like, oh, they're producing X amount of dollars, they're growing revenue, they have so much influence. They may work for a quote unquote Kanye, whom they may not agree with him morally, but he's Kanye and he has so much influence and money and all this other stuff. I think in the church world, it's incentric. It's incentric values that people will go, man, like a leader's influence is based on the results that people are looking at are their morals, is their integrity. It is those things that they're not necessarily tied to extrinsic values. So when a pastor does fall, it hits more because their influence was based on morals that people were striving to achieve
Yeah.
versus on the marketplace. Yeah, they may fall morally. What's that? The CEO that was at the concert hugged up with somebody else's wife and da 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 da. I'm pretty sure he still has his job. I'm pretty sure he's still there.
I think he might have got fired, but
Okay, well maybe not. But anyways, but I heard the lady got fired, but
okay.
he may still regardless. But I mean, granted, you got it was a Coldplay. You got that was pretty bad, but
It's very bad. Yeah.
it hits harder. Imagine if that was a pastor.
Right.
Imagine if that was a pastor. So you know what I
Yes.
mean, people more than once again, I don't know. I'll have to do more research, but more than likely he still has a job or he'll probably get another job in a high paying position because if he could produce results, hey, I had
Yes.
a moral failure, I messed up, whatever, but it has nothing to do with my professional life. On the flip side, hey, this has everything to do with your professional life. So once again, it's the cross that leaders have to carry in the church realm. But I think that's one thing a lot of people don't realize when they step into that. It's like, man, the value or your influence is based on intrinsic values that call people to follow you,
Yeah.
so on and so forth. So once you lose that, it makes it harder.
Yeah, dude, that's so good. Yeah, that's so good. I guess it kind of segues into one of the questions I love asking people. So the title of the podcast is The Choice. And the idea is that there's kind of two main choices that you have to go through every day. And it's you're either taking intentional action every day or you'll have accidental outcomes, right? You're either going to have intentional action that is going to lead you on a trajectory, a path that is pushing you forward, or there's accidental outcomes that show up. You were joking about the 401k. I mean, we all know about compounding interest. You, it works against you or it works for you, right? And so you either, right, intentional action or accidental outcome. And so one of the things that I love asking people is like, what is a choice that you made that was maybe one of the hardest choices that you had to make?
In life today, in
Yeah.
general, what do you?
I'd say in life, like what was an inflection point or a choice? My wife, here's another way that I'll ask it to, because sometimes sometimes life just happens, right?
Yeah,
And it's one of the hardest things that you go through that you didn't necessarily choose it, but it showed up. And now you're a different person because of this choice, this inflection point in your life. Because I think everybody has them, or at least people of, how do I say this nicely? People of significance have those inflection points in life that
yeah.
you're a different person because of this experience that happened. And if you don't mind sharing, I love hearing those experiences because I think those are super impactful.
Oh man, no, I got you. I got you. The first thing that popped in my mind um would be something that was until whatever, till something else. There were a few other things, but one of the most critical things, or one of the most um, pivotal things that happened in my life, it chose to change the narrative about was, I don't know if you know this, and I've just maybe over the last couple years become more comfortable expressing and sharing publicly, was so I have a prosthetic eye. This is a false eye. I can't see anything out of this eye. Um, so I lost my eye when I was about 2 years old or so. I still to this day don't really know what happened. What was message that was given to me, or the explanation that was given to me, was I was at a daycare, and my parents dropped me off. When they picked me back up, I believe it was like a Friday, or I didn't go the next day or something along those lines. And they picked me up and they noticed like my eye was like bloodshot red. So he just said, okay, I'm gonna watch it, put the drops and all that good stuff. And then it progressively got worse. And then as it progressively got worse, that's when they jumped and, you know, put go to ER, so on and so forth, calling the daycare center, and they go, oh yeah, they just said I had an incident. I don't know if I fell or something, a cat or something scratched. I don't know. They just said okay, it's not getting better. Let me go. So they tried to rush to do surgery. They couldn't save the eye. And yeah, I lost my right eye. So with that said, I had a narrative that my life would be different, which it is to some degree. But the narrative that I told myself, I made excuses for certain things that weren't true. So certain
Mm.
lies that I would believe is, man, I'll never be able to drive. I'll never be able to drive. And, I believe the lie of the enemy, oh man, you won't be able to get your driver's license and you wouldn't be able to drive. That's a lie. I drive really well, actually. um, so yeah, I drive really well. Obviously I have to wear protective lens, or prescription glasses, and all these different not restrictions, but things to allow me to drive. Anyways, just certain lies that I would believe about myself kept me from living m- in my fullness, the fullness version of myself, for lack of better words. As I shared, man, through different personality assessments and tests and things like that, I was the guy in the groups in class. If we had to give a presentation, I'd talk. I don't mind speaking in front of people, but I now I do that confidently. Growing up, I hid. I didn't want to be in
Mm.
front talking. I was so self conscious about my eye. I was so self conscious about when I'm looking. I'm thinking people are looking at me and thinking different things, and I never really stepped into my fullness. So going back to your question, I chose to step into, once again, purpose, calling. I chose to utilize the gifts of teaching and not be afraid of whatever self-perception lies and deception that I lived in for so long. Uh, I chose to, put out content. I chose to do a podcast. I chose to publicly speak in front of thousands of people. Awesome. I wouldn't have done that at 18. I wouldn't
Mm.
have done at 25. I wouldn't have done that at 30. But I chose to say, hey, I'm no longer going to live in this lesser version of myself. And I don't, it's something about that, like you said, close to 40. I don't care. I don't care what people think anymore. I don't care about it, whatever. So yeah,
So
that's choice.
what was that inflection point though? I mean, like, what was the thing that was like, it didn't just like happen overnight, or yeah, what was it?
Um, I wouldn't say it happened overnight. I would say going back to that word become, bringing it full circle, going to that word become, I had to become a mature version of myself where I thought less about what other people thought about me. And I thought more about what I thought about me. And I thought more about what God thought about me. And as my relationship with God got stronger, and as I matured and developed, the other perceptions got less, and to the point where, hey, I just don't care anymore. And then now if it gets brought up, it's like, oh yeah, yeah, I have a prosthetic eye, can't see, da 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 da. And it's like, oh wow. And the other thing I'll share with that said, going back to purpose and how it all ties together, I believe that that's one of the main reasons why vision is so important to me.
Mm.
High vision into vision is at the crux, it's at the core of anything I do. Living a compelling life is that life by design, life by vision. And I take that aspect of, I heard Helen Keller say this, man, is what's it say? Living life uh without sight is worse than living life blind, or something along those
Mm,
lines. Where it's just like, man, so many people, they have sight, but they're living blind. Like they don't have any vision. They don't know where they're going. And she was blind, but she had
yeah,
more vision than people who could actually see. And yeah, man. So that's another choice. It was like, man, I'm gonna live a life of desire.
yeah. That's really good. That's really good. And I guess because you we do similar work, and so how have you seen that in other people? Like as you've worked with them, helping them unlock purpose, and then what is the thing that you do or have seen that works really well to help unlock that in other people?
For sure. So when it comes to vision, that's what like the core workshops that I give. So going back to what I said, the people problem aspect, whether it's they don't have a vision statement or mission statement, so on and so forth, or if it's the quote unquote people problem where they're not aligned to it. At the core of it, I say there's a few different vision elements that can help repair an organization or repair a person's life. So there's foresight, being able to see ahead,
Mm,
being able to, look ahead, whether that's the 5-year plan, the 10-year plan, all the good stuff. Then there's hindsight. Okay. Understanding once again, where you came from, why the organization started at its core, how it evolved over the years, or, if it's a person, like, okay, you know, your childhood experiences, all that good stuff.
yeah.
And then I call it the peripheral vision. I feel like the world is changing so much that I think organizations or people, they have goals, which is the foresight.
Hmm.
They maybe need some repair, or maybe they have some understanding of the hindsight and where they came or whatever. But
Yeah.
the peripheral vision is where a lot of organizations or people struggle with. So they're doing a good thing in an old way. So they
That's
don't
good.
realize how, even in the context of content or in the context of coaching and consulting and all these things, what worked 5 years ago, if you have peripheral vision, if I'm looking straight, I can see my dog right here on the left hand side. Still looking at you, but my peripheral vision allows me to see what's changing around me.
Yeah.
So we live in a world, even, it's again, what worked 5 years ago doesn't work now. People are inundated with courses and they're tired of the Zoom calls, and a lot of professionals, they want their teams back into the workplace. That's cool. Now there's a lot of strife and there's a lot of friction. And how can I still offer remote freedom? But now that I want them to come in and wrestling with that, they don't fully understand. So, well, yeah, to answer your question, the vision workshop I break down different areas of vision, whether foresight, where are we going, hindsight, where have we been, peripheral, how have you evolved, how are you changing, who's the person you're becoming, how is the world changing
Mm,
around you? And I break down certain things to help people figure that out. And then once they have a clear, that's a clear vision, that's 2020 vision, when they're
yeah.
able to see far, behind, so on and so forth. It helps open up a lot of people's eyes, no pun intended. It helps them really see what they're doing, where they're going, why they're doing what.
Yeah. No, it makes a lot of sense. That's really good. So for you, I know we've talked on a little bit of like things you're looking forward to in 2026 with your book and stuff like that. But what are the moves? Because like obviously, like you talked about, like faith is obviously like a center portion of your life, right? Like God, Jesus, like it's right there for you. So what are the things that you're feeling like you're called to coming up this year? What are the big things happening?
Great question, man. So going back to the human experience, just really, that's something that I've been doing over the last 5 years, helping people live a compelling life, helping their human experience in general. I've been doing a lot of that in the professional realm. I've been doing a lot of that in the relational realm,
Nice.
financial realm, so on and so forth. As I mentioned before, I was a pastor. I feel called to do that more back in the
Mm,
realm, spiritual sector, a lot more. So what is it in the context of relaunching a ministry, planting a church? That's something that I'm definitely praying and fasting about. So that's definitely at the top of the list. And the other thing that I'm excited about as well is 2025, I felt like was a year of restoration,
mm,
for at least for my family. 2024, it was just a lot of blows, a lot of emotional
mm,
blows. In 2025, there were some emotional blows. So I didn't do a lot of speaking. I really didn't. I had some events January, February, March that were already secured the previous year. But if you look on my social media, I didn't really speak from. May of last year all the way into, or of this year until my next speaking event is January 2026. So I literally said, God, I'm not gonna seek anything. If people reach out to me, great. And people have reached out to me. It's just schedules didn't align, whatever. But I
Sure.
said,
Yeah.
I'm not going to proactively seek anything. I'm just gonna take my foot off the gas. And I felt like there was a rebuilding year. There were some things that I needed to get the foundation right. And once again, I said I'm not going to seek, I'm not going to pursue, I'm not going to send out mass emails, whatever. People just so happens people have been hitting me up via email, social
That's
media.
cool.
Hey, can you speak here? Can you do this? So I have already have my January, February, and March is looking pretty good with speaking of it. So once
Wow.
again, but I say that to say it's not just about the speaking. It's again the vision, the goal. It's like, hey, I want to help. I just put 1 million people for something that's big, audacious. It's like, hey, I want to help 1 million people with their human experience. I want to help them live a compelling life. So it's less about I get to speak again, but more about sharing my story to help other people with their stories and their human experience. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, man, that makes a lot of sense. That's gonna be really cool. I know I was looking at when you were speaking. I was like, oh, maybe I'll be in town. I was like, no, I'm not gonna be in town.
There's a few people who I know. I'm like, you travel all the time. Like the fact that you were able to work that we were able to meet in
Yeah.
Orlando, we did. I'm like, oh, that was literally a God ordained moment because you and I are.
Oh man, it was awesome. There are a few people I got to put you on my list that I'll be in some random airport somewhere. I just text them like, "Hey, where are you at?" Like I just have this like vision of some point being like, in Atlanta or somewhere and being like, "Yeah, we're both laid over." We're just let's go get dinner. Let's
Atlanta
go hang
is
out.
the prone spot for layovers. So
That in Denver. Like I can't
yeah,
tell you how many times I've laid over in Denver and gotten stuck. God bless Denver. It's probably my least favorite airport. And I've got clients in the Denver area, and yeah, one of them was I was with them in December in Phoenix, and she's like, I don't know if I like the Phoenix airport. I'm like, you live in Denver for crying out loud. Like Phoenix is great.
what do you? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Compare, man. Listen, it's the one thing that I will say that to tie it to that. One thing that I think would help so many people is I call it healthy exposure, bro. Healthy exposure. It helps
Teach me.
It helps people because I feel like, oh man, going back to once again, not to dump on the age that we're in. I mean, we're in the middle of it. The age that we're in, the information age, we're overexposed to so many possibilities. That's why I call it healthy
Mm,
exposure.
yeah.
And I hate my airport, or I hate my job, or I hate this. I think if 20 years ago, without social media, you would love your airport or you would love your job. But the overexposure is crazy. But yeah, healthy
Yeah.
exposure is good.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, it is kind of funny how it's a weird thing too, because you're right. Like the comparator 20 years ago was like compared to what? Like compared to your classmates in high school, they're all goofballs,
Right.
like,
Exactly.
right? But now, and in the same way, I was actually talking to somebody about this, on a different podcast, but essentially we were talking about the idea that, there's kind of that overload of things. Okay. Swipe right. And I see like oh, sorry. People are not getting married, right? Until they're older and older and older. And I'm seeing percentages of people that are married with kids that own a home. It's kind of like one of the benchmarks. And that number keeps getting higher and higher and higher and higher. And it's amazing to me when people are like, well, I can't find anybody to date. I'm like, you literally have the world at your fingertips. But I think that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
When it
Yeah.
was, back in, let's say our parents' generation, what's the pool that you're picking from?
Yeah.
Kind of
Yeah.
like your high school, maybe college. But now it's, oh, well, I have so many opportunity and so many options that it paralyzes us and we're not doing anything, right?
Yeah.
Becomes this, yeah, choice overload, pun intended. So,
Literally. Literally. No, that for sure. For sure. It's literally overload and then it's decision fatigue. And then either they settle or they don't decide at all. And then, like you said, oh, there's nobody out there. No, there's literally everyone out
yeah,
there. But
yeah, for sure. Do you see that with when you're helping them like set vision and purpose? Because I see this with companies sometimes. They're like, man, we have so many ways we could go. I'm like, yeah, but you can't go everywhere. So
exactly.
we got to pick
Yeah.
one.
It's even, I think in any sector, it's like, or any section. It's like whether dating, whether, relational dating or, quote unquote professional dating. It's like, hey, you're looking for candidates. There's an overload. I don't even know if people still use Monster, but there's Indeed and there's all these LinkedIn and this person, and they look good on paper. And then when you meet them, they're like, wait a minute, or they get hired and the first 30 days, they're a completely different person
Right.
than whoever they said they were. I think it goes back to investing in your team, the people problem. It's like,
Hmm.
hey, let me invest in my team. This person has raw potential. They may not have man, they even get me on my soapbox.
Let's go there. Degrees.
I feel like there's certain degrees that, yes, you need. The person who is going to do surgery on this person that I love, I want them to have a degree. I want them to have education for that specific thing, for sure. At the same time, a lot of things can be learned. A lot of things can be learned. And I tell people, actually, I just spoke to somebody the other day, 23, still at like on the hump of like college. I don't feel like, I want to go just jump right into the workplace. I'm like, no, college, even if your degree doesn't necessarily give you the job you want, it tells the employer that you can finish something, you can learn, you can finish something, unless it's obviously engineering or, pre-med or whatever. But if it's, I have a degree in economics, um on paper I'm not doing anything with my economics degree, so to speak. But at the same time, it's something that I finished. It's something that I finished. It's something that I did. It sets me apart from other people. But anyways, yeah, I feel like so many, once again, it goes back to overexposure. And, the excuse our generation had was education, man. That's the key. It'll open up doors. So it separates you from other people. Okay. Then a bunch of people got degrees. Okay. What separated them now? And then a bunch of other individuals had degrees. And it's now, it's like, what can I continue to do to separate myself from other people?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I was telling my wife too that I'm curious your thoughts too, because with AI and all that fun stuff, I was telling her that I'm becoming more and more allergic to incompetence because I'm expecting you to Google something. If you don't know, don't make something up or like have me run through circles. And it was funny because I was showing her there's a lot of because being in the tech world, like there's a Siri is so far behind. It's sad. But because there's so many bots that are out there that you talk to them and you would not know it was not a human. Like they're that good, right? Um, and so and my wife's like, "Well, I hate that idea." Like I was like, "I love that idea. I would love to talk to a chatbot that could like pull every resource that I could pull, but better than I could." And
Yeah.
then when it actually needs a human, I want to talk to a really competent human, like a really
Yeah.
tier 3 type person, right? That is there. So as you're working with teams, because I'm seeing this right now, when I go into teams and I talk about the delegation matrix and like things you love and all those different things, one of the things I do, I call it AED, like the defibrillator, but it stands for automate, eliminate, and then delegate. So first
Mm,
thing, what
okay.
things can we automate because we're in the age of that, right? And then eliminate what things are just not waste of your time, and then finally we get to the delegate. So as you're working with companies and things like that, what are you seeing in your space in terms of like artificial intelligence and jobs and things like that? Because obviously it's a big scare, and as we're
Yeah.
working in companies, I'm excited to hear what you're seeing.
Yeah, the two things that I would say I see the most is that people are afraid. They're afraid of change. Um, it's I always say it's crazy. People want change, but at the same time they don't like change.
Right.
So I want ripped abs. I want to look as healthy as I possibly can be, but I don't want to do burpees and I don't want to eat the salad and I don't want to do those things, but I want change. So I think a lot of people are still scared. They're still unsure of what that really means, of what that really looks like. They're scared whether of losing their job. They're scared of, the Terminator. they're scared. They're scared of they have all these different fears. The other thing I realize, and once again, it's a people problem, is human nature. So many people are still stuck to their old way of doing the thing. So going back to the peripheral vision, it's like, okay, are you still spending 10 hours of your week working on that presentation, working on that report, working on whatever? It's like that 10 hours in a quote unquote 40-hour work week, AI could do that. ChatGPT or AI, one of the tools, they can do that in 30 minutes and or less, and you can now get back 10 hours of your time. There's a bunch of CRMs or a bunch of platforms and tools that I encourage organizations to use. I'm like, man, all these reports, or dashboards, Excel sheets, all these different things that you guys are spending so much time doing. Why are you doing that? Oh, well, we've always done it this way. Okay, well, look around you. Look how the world has changed. So I think it's just getting people out of their,
Yeah.
routine, human nature, and then also breaking down barriers and breaking down fears and helping them see, man, people were afraid of cars. What if we still were riding around on horses? you know,
Yeah.
like how would your world look now? So it's helping people embrace change. So a lot of the work that I do, people always go, well, I love talking to people like, what do you do? What like if I search, what do you do? If you were to put a label on it, it would be change management, helping people
Mm,
process change, develop change, so on and so forth, and then break down the process of that.
nice. That's good. Yeah. So not like change therapist, like, but
Literally, or in some sense, change management, change leadership.
yeah.
But yeah, just helping people process change, man, that in itself is, man, critical.
Yeah. Dude, that's so good. That's so good. Well, man, I wanna be respectful of your time. Where do people find your stuff? Obviously, I'm gonna be, posting and tagging you as a collaborator on Instagram and things like that. But how do people find you and all that
Yeah.
fun stuff?
Yeah, so website is JC, the letter J, the letter C, Gayle, Gayle, .com. Or you can, on socials at JC underscore Gayle, somebody sold my JC Gayle and they won't give it back. But anyways, yeah, JC underscore Gayle, Gayle. You can find me pretty much I'm on the main ones. There's so many nowadays. I don't even know. They're all, yeah, definitely. Or you can, my organization, Compel Movement, you can look that up as well. Like I said, I work with a lot of schools. I work with prisons and helping individuals who are incarcerated discover their purpose. So when they get out, they have a plan, they have a purpose, they have direction on where they want to go. So there's actually a couple. I've been partnering with a couple different prisons, but they connected me with a couple others as well. So I'm really looking forward to that next year. But
Oh,
yeah,
man, yeah.
movement.com or jcgale.com. I'll be there.
Sweet. All right. Well, I'll grab all the links and we'll put in the show notes and all that stuff. Dude, thanks for doing this. This was a lot of fun. And I know. Here's to 40 coming up.
Cheers, a
It's
virtual cheers,
gonna be
and let me
awesome. Yeah.
say this, man, let me say this too, so many people don't realize the power of relationships. I think
That's good.
when you so many individuals just think going to a conference is the end all be all. Going to an event, going to a conference, I personally know and seen so many people purchase courses, community groups, and they don't take advantage of the people that are there. And this right here, as well as we, even outside of us, like there's a nucleus, like there's literally other people that we have literally either I added value to, or you guys added value to us. So this is literally the power relationship. So I just want to encourage people and individuals, man, tap into your communities, tap into whether people at your workplace, whether people at your church, whether people if you're paying for a mastermind, if you're paying for some kind of coaching, tap into the other people that are a part of that, because literally that's going to determine where you are in life. That's going to determine where you're going. So I just want to appreciate you, bro. I encourage you, continue doing the great work that you're doing, man. I love seeing you post online, hey, I just finished this workshop, and I'm like, let's go, let's go. And then same thing with me, hey, JC, I see. So just, yeah, tap into your community, man. There's so much gold there, bro. So appreciate you,
Man.
man.
Yeah, that's so good. You too, brother. We'll talk
All right,
soon.
man.
Bye.
Peace.